Hi, Keith here from Academy of Bass. Thanks for joining me. Being able to use more of the instrument rather than being tied to just one fixed position gives you more choice of notes to use. It's great for your technique and it can help improve your all-round fluency on bass. But can you really get from here to here in just 2 moves? Well, yes, you can. I'm looking at chord inversions today, specifically minor chord inversions. I'm going to show you all of the shapes that you need to know to move around the fingerboard really easily. And I'll be talking about notes too. There's also a completely free PDF for this lesson, and it's got everything in that you need to know. I've also included a backing track for you to practice along to as part of that download. You'll find the link to that posted below. Make sure you grab a copy. But this is a practical lesson, and I'm going to show you how to use everything in bassline so that you can start using this stuff straight away. So what is an inversion? Well, it's really easy. I'm going to start by playing a minor chord arpeggio, a C minor chord arpeggio from C here at the 3rd fret of the A string. That's the root note. Then we've got E flat, the flat and 3rd at the 6th fret of the A string, playing that with my little finger. And then G, the 5th at the 5th fret of the D string, playing that with my ring finger. So we get C, E flat, G, or root, flat and 3rd and 5th. And all an inversion is the same notes but starting from the next note up in the arpeggio. So from this C root note I'm going to move to E flat. This gives us our first inversion. So we've got E flat, G at the 5th fret of the D string, C at the 5th fret of the G string, E flat, G, C, or flat and 3rd, 5th and root. And the second inversion starts from the next note. So this time we've got G, the 5th at the 5th fret of the D string, C, the root note, 5th fret of the G string, and E flat, the flat and 3rd at the 8th fret of the G string. But I'm not going to use that pattern, that second inversion pattern in this lesson. I'm going to show you a pattern so that each of the starting notes start on the same string. So we've got C root note, E flat, first inversion, then I'm going to move to the 10th fret for G, 10th fret of the A string, playing that with my ring finger, C, 10th fret of the D string, playing that with my little finger, E flat, 8th fret of the G string, playing that with my first finger. So we get G, C, E flat, 5th, root, flat and 3rd. So we've got root position, 1 move to play the first inversion starting from E flat, 2 moves to play the second inversion starting from G. So we're literally 1 fret away from the 12th fret, and you and I both know that everything after the 12th fret is just a repeat of what we played. So we're now at C, 15th fret of the A string. I'm going to show you a slightly different fingering pattern for the root position, C minor chord arpeggio. So we've got C at the 15th fret, playing that with my little finger, E flat at the 13th fret of the D string, playing that with my second finger, and G at the 12th fret of the G string, playing that with my first finger. C, E flat, G, root, flat and 3rd, 5th. Of course we can play the original pattern that we played down here. And now we're at E flat, which is the 18th fret of the A string. E flat, the flat and 3rd, G, the 5th at the 17th fret of the D string, and C, the root note at the 17th fret of the G string. E flat, G, C, flat and 3rd, 5th and root. And we can do exactly the same thing with the roots on the E string. So the lowest note we've got available to us is G. That puts us in the second inversion position. So we've got G, C, E flat, exactly the same as this pattern up here. G, C, E flat. Then we're up to C, 8th fret of the E string, and I'm going to repeat this pattern and our original pattern. And now we've got E flat at the 11th fret of the E string, E flat, the flat and 3rd, G, the 5th at the 10th fret of the A string, and C, the root note at the 10th fret of the D string. E flat, G, C, flat and 3rd, 5th and root. So we've got 1 move, 2 moves again. Now we're at G again at the 15th fret of the E string. G, C, 15th fret of the A string, E flat, 13th fret of the D string. So G, C, E flat, or 5th, root, flat and 3rd. I've got C up here, but I just don't have the access. So we've got 3 really easy patterns, and we've virtually covered the entire fingerboard with just 2 moves. Obviously the key thing here is that you know the inversion shapes and that you can play them starting from the A string or the E string. If you know the notes too, that's a bonus. But there are other ways that you can practice them. Now, I like to take inversions and extend them a little bit. So starting from the root position here at C, I'm going to play the octave here. So C at the 5th fret of the G string. First inversion from E flat, G, C, and I'm going to play the E flat here at the 8th fret of the G string. Second inversion, G, C, E flat, and G, the octave at the 12th fret of the G string. So we get root position, first inversion, and second inversion. And we can do the same on the E string. So this time we've got G, second inversion, G, C, E flat, and the G octave at the 5th fret of the D string. C root note, C, E flat, G, C octave or root note at the 10th fret of the D string, then E flat, G, C, and E flat at the 13th fret of the D string. But the whole point of learning these inversions or anything theoretical is to use them in our playing. So I'm going to do just that. I'm going to play a C minor groove, and the first time I play it, I'm going to use these shapes exactly as we've learned them. The second time, I'm going to embellish them a little bit. Now, it might be worth having a copy of the PDF handy, because that way you can follow the notation or the tab, because I'm going to be playing some fills too. The riff that I played wasn't so much a riff as it was 2 notes. It was just B flat and C. So I'm playing some muted notes. I started off with 3 muted notes on the E string, then it's B flat to C, another muted note on the A string, and then B flat and C again. Each time I played that, I used a different answering phrase using the inversion shapes that we learnt earlier on. The first was this. That's just our first inversion shape, starting from E flat at the 6th fret of the A string, E flat, G, C. The second time I played this. That's our second inversion shape. So this time I slid into G at the 10th fret of the A string, C, 10th fret of the D string, E flat, 8th fret of the G string. From there, hammered onto F at the 10th fret, then it's B flat at the 8th fret of the D string, hammering onto C at the 10th. The third time I played this. So that's a different use of this first inversion shape, but I started from B flat here at the 6th fret of the E string. B flat's the flat and 7th of C minor. Then we've got D at the 5th fret of the A string. D's the 9th or the 2nd of C, and that's a great note to play over a minor chord. Then we've got G the 5th. Then it's E flat, G and C. And then I finished off with this fill. So I'm sliding into G at the 12th fret of the G string, F at the 10th fret, sliding into E flat at the 8th, then we've got C, 10th fret of the D string, pulling off onto B flat, and then we've got G at the 10th fret of the A string. Now the second time through, I just embellished them a little bit. The first time I played this. So I played E flat, G, but this time I accented the C and came down to play F and G to lead back into the riff. The second time I played this. Now that's a nice little bluesy variation of the riff that I played the first time. I started from F at the 8th fret of the A string, hammered onto G at the 10th, then it's B flat 8th fret of the D string, E flat 8th fret of the G string, then I came down to B natural, the natural 7th at the 9th fret of the D string, and then C. And the third time I played this. So that's an ever so slight variation, a subtle variation on the first inversion shape that I played the first time. Started from A at the 5th fret of the E string, hammered onto B flat at the 6th, D, G, E flat, G and C. And the very last time I played a pentatonic riff. So I started from E flat at the 8th fret of the G string, hammered onto F at the 10th and pulled back off onto E flat. Then it's C, the 10th fret of the D string, pulling off onto B flat at the 8th. Then it's C to B flat, G to F at the 10th and 8th fret of the D and A string. B flat at the 8th fret of the D string, G, F, E flat at the 11th fret of the E string, C at the 8th fret, F at the 8th fret of the A string, and then C at the 3rd fret of the A string to finish off. Now, it would have been really easy to embellish these and make these fills even more complicated, but I really wanted you to see and hear just how great they sound on their own. Chord inversions are a big part of the language that we use on bass, and what I've looked at in this lesson will help you play over any minor chord in any style of music. All you've got to do is get the shapes under your fingers and make sure that you understand what you're playing. I really do hope that you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have, give me a shout out and let me know in the comments. Make sure you grab that PDF too. The link to that is posted below. Thanks for joining me. Look forward to seeing you again, and in the meantime, happy practicing.